This is Sports Overtime.
Well, welcome into another episode of Sports Overtime. Thank you as always for joining us. The struggles of not having a full roster has been the biggest Achilles heel for the Michigan State women's basketball program this season. But seeing other players like freshman point guard Didi Hageman step up into a starting role has boosted the Spartans to a 12-9 record. MSU had another tough test on the road this afternoon, putting their skills up against the Minnesota Gophers. Let's get you out to the action. Spartans with an early 7-point lead, and Nia Clouden given too much space, so she fires and sinks 3 of her game-high 29 points. But Minnesota answers right back. Sarah Scalia from way out. She is a problem. She finished with a team-high 24 points. Turnovers were the big issue this afternoon as Alexia Smith grabs a loose ball, bringing it up and finding a trailing Scalia, who steps back for another 3, cutting into MSU's lead. In the second quarter, the Spartans were winning on the boards. Isa Alexander kicks it out to Matilda Eck from straight on. Cash money. But too many turnovers decided this one as a steal rolls all the way over to the Spartans' end. Godiva Hubbard dishes to Laura Katalianik from point-blank range as the Gophers go on to win it 71-60. And understandably, Coach Susie Merchant was not happy.
You just can't be so that up and down, right? Like, I thought we had Nia and Matilda today, and kind of everybody else was going through the motions at times. But I just don't think our players did a very good job mentally and physically preparing. We looked very slow, very flat, and the better team won today, and the team that played with more effort and toughness won today, and it was not us.
Well, the Michigan women's basketball team also had a big game on this Sunday. The Wolverines hosting the Iowa Hawkeyes tonight. And this top 25 matchup was big for both squads because if Iowa wins, they are tied up for the top spot in the conference with Michigan. But if Michigan wins, the Wolverines inch just a little bit closer to winning their first ever Big Ten regular season title. Out to the Chrysler Center, Leah Brown out for tonight's game with a leg injury. She usually averages around 15 points per game, so somebody else was going to have to step up, and freshman guard Layla Filia was making the hustle plays, banking in 2 of her career-high 24 points. Michigan would build its lead up to as high as 25 points, and a big reason is always Naz Hillman getting the and one and finishing with a team-high 26 big ones. But the star of this game was Iowa's Caitlin Clark, who's shooting from the logo, dropping a career-high 46 points to keep the Hawkeyes in it. But Filia and the Wolverines would hit their free throws and hold on to get the program record 8th straight Big Ten win, 98-90, the final. Now to pro sports. The 2022 NFL Pro Bowl was this afternoon out at Alliance Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. And a couple of local guys are having some fun on the field. One of them we know all too well around here, former Michigan State quarterback Kirk Cousins, who was playing in his 3rd Pro Bowl. So out to Vegas we go. Cousins was warming up before this one, which was seen on WLAJ. Middle of the first quarter, Cousins in at quarterback, rolling out and finding Kyle Juszczyk, who sneaks his way in for the touchdown. The San Francisco 49ers fullback is always a threat in the passing game. Then just before halftime, Cousins in the red zone looking for someone open, but former Eastern Michigan defensive end Max Crosby gets there for the sack, and the Las Vegas Raider is enjoying every second of it in front of the home fans. Now, Mad Max wasn't done having some fun. In the 4th quarter, with 5 minutes left, he spins out of a block and wraps up Russell Wilson for his 2nd sack of the day as the AFC would go on to win its 5th straight Pro Bowl, 41-35 the final. And after the game, Crosby was honored in a big way.
The 2022 Pro Bowl Defensive Most Valuable Player from the Las Vegas Raiders, Max Crosby. Max, congratulations. Max, it seemed like from the very beginning of the game that you were playing just a little bit harder than everybody else. How come?
You know, Coach Marinelli's been texting me all week not to loaf. You know, I had to set that standard, so I've been working. Had to come out here and put on a show for the fans one last time.
Thank you and congratulations.
Well, it's time for us to take a time out, but we're not done talking about local alums playing in the NFL, because when we come back, former Michigan State defensive end Kenny Willekes will tell us what it was like to get his high school jersey retired. So stay with us.
This is 6 News Now, here for you 24 hours a day, online at WLNS.com.
The state no longer has a 6% sales tax on tampons and other menstrual products. The tax was officially repealed on Thursday, but one woman believes feminine products must be more affordable. Shamir Owens is here for you now with this story.
Sarah, many lawmakers are working to make menstrual sanitary products more affordable, and Lauren Kane says it's about time.
I definitely am happy that we are not charging a luxury tax on something that is not a luxury experience.
Lauren Kane is a graduate student at MSU pursuing a master's degree in social work. During an internship, she witnessed firsthand the struggle that many women face when it comes to menstrual products: affordability.
I've worked with women that are in low socioeconomic status, that are in situations that struggle to afford these products. So it is really important that we have ability to help them get one step closer to being able to make those affordable.
Melena Brand has been a key advocate for making these products more affordable. Brand is the executive director for the Women's Center of Greater Lansing. For years, the group has provided free tampons and pads to hundreds of women who can't afford them. Brand says it's hard to watch other women struggle to afford something that they need.
It's just really frustrating when I have to buy things that are medically necessary for me to kind of participate in my society, and I see other people struggle with it every day, and it's just time that we are treated like equal people.
Kane says it took too long for this tax to be repealed, and that work must continue to make menstrual products more accessible and affordable for all women.
For this to just now be considered maybe like a medical supply necessity is kind of really absurd. And I think it just speaks more to the stigma that still remains around the fact that women menstruate. Like, we just can't have these conversations. I think food and water are just as necessary as some of these things that are medically indicated.
Michigan is one of over 20 states to pass laws that take away state taxes for menstrual products. Sarah, back to you.
A little bit of a good news, bad news situation for most locations across the board for mid-Michigan as you begin your Sunday today. Good news is we're waking up to some dry conditions and some partly cloudy to mostly cloudy conditions across the board for our region. Now, the bad news comes when we look at the temperatures that we're seeing outside, and wind gusts are significantly heavier compared to where they were yesterday. Take a live look at the Capitol right now. Pretty quiet outside to start off your morning today, but again, still fairly cold. Temperatures of 18 degrees, but fairly gusty outside with winds right now.
Welcome back, everyone. On Friday night, it was a big night for Michigan State alum Kenny Willekes, who is now a defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings, but he returned to where it all started. In front of his friends and family, Willekes had his high school jersey retired at North Point Christian. Number 35 will never be worn by another Mustang ever again on the football field, as it now hangs in the gymnasium. After the ceremony, Willekes shared what it was like for this moment with his hometown community.
You know, it's kind of something you dream about as a kid when you're playing football. You know, you always want to get your jersey retired. You want to play well enough to get your jersey retired. So be able to come back home and, you know, have so many people here that I grew up with, a lot of my classmates, you know, a lot of the parents, the kids I played with, just seeing them back here supporting me and getting my jersey retired was something that was really cool and something really special to me and my family.
Well, speaking of professional athletes, it's been over 2 months since Major League Baseball entered a lockout after the league's collective bargaining agreement expired. With pitchers and catchers scheduled to report in less than 2 weeks, our Ian Kress has more on where things stand between the owners and the Players Association.
Eric Haas has got the windmill going. The throw home, not going to get there.
Who knows when exactly the Boys of Summer will make a return. This past week, the league requested to bring in a federal mediator, a third party, to resolve the issue, but the players denied it. Former Detroit Tiger and New York Mets pitcher Max Scherzer, who was an executive subcommittee member for MLBPA, took to Twitter and said, "We don't need a mediator because what we are offering to MLB is fair for both sides. We want a system where threshold and penalties don't function as caps, allow younger players to realize more of their market value, make service time manipulation speculation a thing of the past and eliminate tanking as a winning strategy. It's frustrating for everyone, including the radio voice of the Detroit Tigers, Dan Dickerson.
Grand slam home run for Miguel Cabrera.
I cannot talk about the 40-man roster as a team employee as long as the lockout is going on.
Players Dickerson can talk about are the ones that aren't on the 40-man roster and will report to spring training this month, like top prospects Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green, as well as last year's 3rd overall pick, Jackson Jobe.
There's a lot of exciting things going on with these players and in the development. I mean, Jackson Jobe, I can't wait to see this kid. You don't draft right-handed high school pitchers with the 3rd overall pick, right? But Jackson Jobe is special.
The lockout won't affect opening day for the Lansing Lugnuts on April 8th, but the club could be without one of its top arms.
Jorge Juan, who just made a couple of appearances with us, but was so impressive as a breakout right-hander in the A's system, he could very well be back with us to start next year, and yet they added him to the 40-man roster just to protect him.
Ian Kress, 6 Sports.
Well, thank you, Ian. That's all for tonight's show. Good night, everyone.